June is Pride month and obviously I wanted to celebrate it. I have done things and collected 6 books that I want to read for the month of Pride. But then I also thought, hey Anchal, you have also read so many books earlier, which would be amazing reads in the Pride month. What about those? And so I thought of recommending all of those books to you guys before I can read the 6 new books. Here I am with some recommendations that you can read in the Pride month or even after that. If you watch my videos regularly, there may be some repetition, but you guys are gonna get amazing recommendations next week. But if you don't watch all my videos and you want a one-stop destination where you can find Pride recommendations, this is your video. Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing very nice and I'm sending a lot of hugs and positivity to all of you. Hi, if you're new, welcome to the channel. I really hope you enjoy the content, and if you do, please do consider subscribing. In today's video, we're going to talk about 13 books that you can read for the Pride month. Let's begin the video. I want to start with one of the bestest books I have ever read in my entire life, especially when it comes to reading it in the Pride month, which is the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. I got the hardcover, you guys, and I'm so happy about it. I cannot wait to have all of them in hardcovers. This is only volume 1. There's volume 2, volume 3, volume 4 which are already out, and volume 5 and volume 6 are probably going to be out this year. It's this sort of a book which makes it insanely easy to read, and not just that, it also makes it very visually engaging. So you're like literally sucked into the world of Heartstopper. It is a story of a boy who meets a boy and then they fall in love, and you see what happens with that. When you read the book, it's just out of this world. You can watch the readathon where I read the first volume of this book. I'll put the link in the description, and you will see I unexpectedly cried out of nowhere. So this is definitely a must read. I don't care what you're doing in your life, just go ahead, buy this book somehow and read it. You're gonna thank me later. Talking about Alice Oseman, we have Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. You guys know that I am one of the biggest fans of Radio Silence. I listened to it as an audiobook and it was so amazing that I got the paperback version. At this point I'm like, do I want the hardcover version? Maybe I will get it someday. This is the story of Frances, who has her entire life figured out and she has only one goal, and her eye is so on the prize that she will not let anything in the entire world, love, friendship, anything else, get in her way. But when she meets the creator of one of her best underrated podcasts ever, her life changes. Once you start reading it, it is an emotional roller coaster. It is the exploration of what friendship is like, of what growing as a person is like, of different sexualities, of different relationships with each other. I read this book and I was smacking my head thinking why I haven't read books like this earlier, because they're truly life-changing, soul-changing, your emotions changing, even though it's fiction. It's great for beginners. So many of you have actually started reading because of this book, so you can definitely go ahead and read it, even if you're a beginner and if you're a teenager. Talking about the books that I read when I was trying to get out of a reading slump, not knowing that such book exists in the world, and when I actually listened to it or read it, it actually changed my entire life and I was like, oh my god, what is this new world? We have The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the story of one woman, one exceptional, amazing, badass woman, Evelyn Hugo, and her 7 husbands. Evelyn Hugo has an ambition and she will do anything to reach her ambition. This is also said to be a historical fiction because of the setup, because of the time in which Evelyn Hugo's story takes place in. Evelyn Hugo is sort of like a grey character where on one hand you love her, on the other hand you question her, and it's super duper engaging because of that. I've said this so many times before, but if you're in a reading slump and you want to get out of it, this can be one of the best books because of all the drama it's filled with, but at the same time the emotional quotient of it, the story of it, it's all just so good. You will love it. Next up we have Less by Andrew Sean Greer. I got this book on a whim, but it turned out to be such a special book. This is the story of Arthur Less, who has failed in almost every single area of his life, and he's in the middle of his life. I think he's 50 years old, isn't he? Yes, it's his 50th birthday and he does not know what to do, and his ex is about to get married and he gets the invitation, and Les is like, I cannot go to the wedding, but I cannot not go because what excuse will I give? And that is when he comes up with the idea of saying yes to every single free literary event there is in the world, and then he goes around the world traveling, exploring all of these events and exploring himself. So this is kind of like the story of a midlife crisis. It is such a heartwarming book. Arthur Less is one of the most adorable characters ever, and this is a character driven book. It is definitely a little slow if you're in the mood to read some sort of like a thriller or a plot driven book, and the drama is so much lesser, but Arthur Less is so amazing. Your heart is constantly breaking and then becoming warm and breaking and becoming warm listening to his story and his thoughts and everything that he does. Super duper easy to read, and you can read it even if you're a beginner. Next we have Jessie Burton's The Confession. This is the story of two women falling in love long back, and then fast forward I think 30 years, and then the daughter of one of those women is trying to find out what exactly happened to her mother, and in that entire quest she goes and meets the lover of her mother. That is so underrated. Jessie Burton is definitely a popular author, and she has written multiple books which are very popular, but barely anybody talks about The Confession, and I don't know why, because it's such a beautiful book. When I read it for the first time, I was not big on reading fiction, and so it was not that good for me, but now a couple years later when I look back at the experience I had when I was reading it, motherhood, what an ambition does to a love story, parenthood, all of those things, it's so beautiful, and it's so, I don't want to say heartwarming, it's just I'm repeating the same word again and again, but looking back it definitely does have a special place in my heart, and I can't wait to read another book by Jessie Burton if that is the kind of books that she writes. So if you're in the mood to read something thick, something amazing, and just have a good, very good fulfilling time, this is your book. Very easy to read, so easy for beginners. Next up we have Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Now I've not finished reading this book, so I feel a little bad about recommending it, but I have read around half of it, and after that I started reading some book which I was really excited about, and it came in the mail, so I just lost interest in everything else in the world and dropped this one. I really want to read the book again, and I just did not want to miss out on the opportunity to recommend such an amazing book. This is the story of Simon Snow, who is the chosen one, and it's sort of like a Harry Potter inspired fantasy book, but where the chosen one is not really the best chosen one that you will see in the whole world. He does not know what he's doing. He's just going with the flow. He does not know what is going on around him. So it's kind of like the worst chosen one ever, but it's super interesting to read, and it's actually really funny when you're reading all the mistakes that he makes. But there is a super duper big problem or evil coming up upon the school, and there is a map also of the school that they have, and Simon along with others have to be prepared for that evil. If you like Harry Potter and you want to read something in the fantasy genre and have some fun, this is your book. I think it does have other parts also, and this is just book one. Next up we have a book by Murakami, which is Sputnik Sweetheart, which is the love story of two women, but something very weird happens after which they are questioning everything that is going on around them. If you want to read a special love story filled with vulnerability and filled with emotions, Murakami style, then this is your book. Be ready for magical realism, be ready for stuff just happening out of nowhere. But for the first time ever when I read this book, and before that when I used to read Murakami books, it did not make a lot of sense to me, but then I got to know the kind of books that he writes, and so I started listening to the book because I listened to the book in a different way. And when I did listen to the book like that, I think there was some sort of symbolism, or I was about to decipher some sort of symbolism for myself. You can also read that as a beginner in the Murakami world. I don't think you can read that as a beginner in the whole reading world. Like the first book you pick up and stuff happens that you don't understand what is going on. But if you want something like that, go ahead. Next up we have the series Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, the ultimate amazing series of two boys falling in love, Aristotle and Dante. In this book they meet each other and they fall in love. In this book we move ahead to see what happens to their love and how they survive with their love in times where it is not normal for them to fall in love. If you're into YA romance, then you are in for a treat with these two books. Especially the first one just stole my heart, and just I never got it back because of how beautiful it is. The writing is beautiful, it is very easy to read. You see their journey, you see them coming out of their shell, you see them changing for each other, you see them helping each other from not changing from the way that they were. It's just a beautiful journey, so make sure you read these ones. Next up we have They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is the story of two guys who meet after coming to know that they're going to die in the next 24 hours because you get a call at midnight that, hey, you're gonna die today, these are your last 24 hours. They both want to make the best of 24 hours, and so they go on an application and then they meet each other, and then you see the adventures that they go on in the 24 hours. While it's not one of like the craziest book out there in the world, oh my god, how did someone write this? At the same time, just the fact that I already knew that they both die in the end, and even then being shocked when they actually died at the end, was what makes this book very special for me, because you really need to lose yourself throughout the whole book to be able to be shocked in the end, and the book was able to make me lose myself throughout the book, and then I was shocked in the end. If you liked Aristotle and Dante, it has sort of like the similar vibes with the timer on that you're going to die. So if you enjoyed that book already and you've read it already and you want something like that, go ahead and read this one. Super duper easy, good for beginners. Last but insanely not the least, I mean, the only reason I've kept it in the end is because I've talked so much about it in the past few videos that I was like, if I talk about it first again in one video, I think you just click out in 1 second. And the book is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. We were like gods at the dawning of the world, and our joy was so bright we could see nothing else but the other. This is the retelling of the Trojan War, the retelling of Homer by Iliad, and it is the story of Achilles and Patroclus falling in love. Why? Oh my god. I have a reading vlog on this, so if you want to go and check it out, you can, and leave the link in the description. If you are in the mood for some Greek mythology, if you're in the mood for some lyrical writing, actually literally the best writing in the whole world, super duper poetic, if you want to read something super duper vulnerable and you want to cry your eyes out, then this is your book. Even if you're a beginner, it's actually one of the best books to start your Greek mythology journey with, because even though you don't know a lot about Greek mythology and all of the other people in that mythology, this book is self-sufficient. So when you're reading it, you will not feel lost at all as to, oh, who is this? I know nothing about this person. But if you are into Greek mythology already, then you will feel very, very familiar with all of the characters. This book is so hyped, and I think I'm one of those people who will hype it even more. So go ahead and read this one. And with that, we come towards the end of the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you watch my videos regularly and you still stuck with me till here, till the end, thank you so much. I have an amazing video coming up for you guys, more LGBTQIA plus recommendations, and it's actually a vlog, so it's going to be so much fun. I am beyond excited about this one because of everything that I have done for this video. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Bye.